Right, it's time to look forward to the big one, the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup, in the company of Dave Massey, Daryl and Graham once again. Just before we get to the Gold Cup though, Daryl, the Triumph Hurdle this year looks like Willie Mullins has got a vice-like grip on it. If you were Paul Townend, which of his contenders would you ride?
I mean,
nice, easy half volley.
You could actually make a case for all three of them.
You're not allowed to. You can only.
I know, but this is going to be really difficult for Paul to try and decide which one. Lossiemount, she's looked very good. Obviously, she had the mishap the last time.
Well, let's see that. Was Paul unlucky that day? Because again, Willie was critical. I'm not sure what he could have done. Yeah,
well, it would obviously happened a bit before this. Basically, they had a sort of a pacemaker, if you like to say, that was in the Sean Road, but the pacemaker, or the horse that made the running, was obviously one of Rich Ritchie's horses. Made a bad mistake, 3 out, lost ground, came back quickly, and Paul had to take back and go around. But then at the same time, Danny has seized the moment. He's blocked Paul in. Paul couldn't get out when he needed to get out, and he had to wait and be patient.
And this is where Willie Mullins was furious, because he thought he should have given her an easier time. I think punters would think differently, because he's still in with a chance.
Yeah, it's a Grade 1 race.
Yeah.
I thought she did tremendously well. It's a triple whammy: hampered, slowly run race, and having to come really wide in order to challenge. So, to my eye, she didn't lose anything whatsoever in defeat that day, Lossiemouth.
So, it might be her, but are you going elsewhere?
Well, Blood Destiny, I rode in the race, obviously, Nusrat at Fairyhouse, and he literally went off, Blood Destiny went off 20 lengths clear of us. And we just couldn't get head nor tail of him. And obviously, you know what Nusrat has done. He won the Donuts. That was a seriously impressive performance. Still looked a little bit green out in front. I've watched the replay, still look green. I think there's a lot more to come from him, and he's obviously been kept very, very fresh from Fairyhouse to Cheltenham, so he's going to be the freshest out of the three of them. But then you got Gala, Danny Mullins' horse, is from the first run that she's improved bundles when she was second to Lossiemount. She's improved an awful lot. Even physically looking at her, she's improved a lot, and she's got a lot more to improve as well, because she's settling down with every race. She can be a bit keen, so it's going to be a tough one for Paul.
Answer my question, man.
Well, I don't know really, if I'm being totally honest with you. You could literally flick a coin.
Sometimes you say the best answer and I don't know.
Yeah, but just say that. Don't go around the houses to say it.
You see, you scribbled something. It must be important.
Yeah, it is very important. It's loss 7, and it's Lossiemouth gets £7.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of Blood Destiny, and the market has spoken really well for him. Dave, he looks a really destructive front runner. He blends that ball jumping with aggressive front running in a very attractive way.
Already looks a chaser, doesn't he? When you sort of see him in his stature. The only thing that worries me with Blood Destiny is he did leave his back legs in a couple. And you made a point when we were talking about
You're all about the jumping, aren't you?
I am. I think it's a key point. I think
quite an important part of the game, isn't it, Daryl?
You've got to jump them to win, as my old granddad used to say. But you made a key point and when we were talking about day 3 about early stages of a race and where you want to be in that first 4 furlongs. Blood Destiny can't afford any messing around at the start, like it was last time. He was sort of ducking out to his left a little bit, and then he had to be brought back in again. You can't afford any of that, because that first hurdle comes up fairly quick in the Triumph. I know they've moved it forward 10, 15 yards, something, so it's about 15 strides now when it used to be 10. But you've got to be in the right place at the right time, and if they're going to, it worries me that Blood Destiny will just be, they can't afford to be faffing around at the start, otherwise he's going to find himself shuffled back in the pack a little bit, and then you're chasing the game and you've got to be back in position.
Yeah, but he could make the running in this race. He could make the running, and they're all going to sit in behind him.
Because,
maybe. You say, Lossiemount will want to make the running.
No.
They're not going to make the running with Gala, I'll just call it. They're not going to make the run with her, and then, like you say, you got like some of the English horses, but they're not good enough. So
no, they're not. I mean,
Blood Destiny could literally just go out and make the run, set his own fractions, and ride the race to suit himself. And like you say, if he does that, it could be very, very difficult to get back. I promise you, this is really, really interesting. This race, this is really intriguing. Any one of Willie Mullins' horses could win this race. I
totally agree with Daryl what he said about Gala Marseille. By the way, she's the one that's taking steps forward, and I like that. Anytime she's taking steps forward.
We're trying to win you back, Daryl.
I totally agree, and I don't think there's very much between Gala Marceau and Lossiemouth, and at that, I'm a Price's man. I've got to be with Gala Marceau.
Okay, let's talk about the big one, GC. Let's talk about the Gold Cup. Set the scene for us. How good, how interesting a Gold Cup have we got this year?
Well, it's an amazing Gold Cup this year because we have at least a couple of previous winners, Minella Indo and A Plutard. Who knows with A Plutard? We'll come to him in a moment. But we have what I think, and I could be wrong, the most interesting and exciting Gold Cup newcomer since Courtauld Star, in the shape of Galopin de Champs. I'm not saying he's as good as that horse, who is the best chaser I've seen in my lifetime, I think. But in terms of his potential and what he's done so far, the sky is the limit. Now, we picked him up last time at Leopardstown. Not everyone was super excited about this performance, but I thought he was highly efficient. He's definitely relaxing better than he used to, chaps. And look at him on the running. We have Statler on the right, who is a very, very honest, strong staying, progressive horse. But we have more than one clue which suggests Galopin is just a much faster horse than him now, and it's very much a question of whether he can deliver this level of performance or better when he gets out to 3.25 miles. I know the price is tight, but I think this is a tremendous young chaser, and I can't wait to see him next Friday.
Now, what happened after this, Daryl? We won't see it because that's the finish of the race. But Paul Tanner makes a big thing of the fact, so you talk about the horse's stamina, that he just couldn't pull him up for ages. Is that relevant? Should we read anything into that when he's thinking about whether he's going to stay?
Absolutely. And that goes back to, like, I'm obviously a massive fan of Ruby when he was riding, and I learned so much about Ruby. But Ruby always, whenever he pulled up horses, he always wanted to see how long after the winning line, how long it would take for the horses to actually to pull him up. To take themselves, to pull him up. And if a horse pulls up after the line very, very quickly, he's come to the end of his fitness, or he's come to the end of his run. Where horses, if they want to keep galloping for another 2 or 3 furlongs, and you're like, whoa, they've obviously got bundles left. And Ruby, I learned that very, very early off Ruby, and Ruby's there's no better man than Ruby, and Paul's obviously taken this note as well from his years with Ruby. And like you say, for him to put that horse to pull up, it was the last fence down the back. That's a long way away from crossing the win line before he's managed to actually get him back.
Do you think he'll stay?
I've no doubt about it, he'll stay. And I love this horse because he's got speed, he's a good jumper, he just looks good, really good.
Right, Dave, let's have a look at the Timeform ratings for the Gold Cup. And as we do this, let's talk about the British Challenge. The British, I think we accept, aren't going to win the Triumph on day 4. How strong is the home defence, if you like? You've got Brave Man's Game there on what? He's not far off the top, and you've got Protectorat, you've got Ahoy Seigneur as well.
I don't think they are good enough to challenge the Irish, if I'm honest.
Okay.
There we go, and we'll move on to best bets of the day. No, I think Brave Man's Game for me is what he's shown so far is good form, but it's not to the same level as what Galopin has shown, or even Statler.
Same question applies to his stamina as well. We don't know about him.
We don't know. It's all flat track form, Graham. The majority of it's flat track form. We don't know if he's going to come up that. He's got to come up that hill twice. We don't know if
he will jump very well, though, Dave.
And a key point as well from Kempton as well. He was very fizzy beforehand, wasn't he, at Kempton? Didn't they take him out the parade and he got red on? Absolutely. They took him out the parade and took him down. So he's got that to deal with even before he gets down to the start this time. Will his stamina last out? I've got question marks, to be perfectly honest. Ahoy Seigneur, lovely horse, Grandals, but there is at least one, if not 2, serious mistakes in there.
And will that come early, Graham? I think it's important with Galopin de Champs as well. You can't underestimate how important those first 2 or 3 fences are in a Gold Cup.
Yeah, the Gold Cup every year is one of the most compelling races to watch because it's like card players playing the hand one by one, and you get waves of progress up the hill on the far side. I think Brave Man's Game is a really good bet to jump extremely well and travel very strongly for a long way. I'm not quite convinced about the final 2 furlongs. I'll talk quickly about a horse who's not there. I thought that L'Empresse might be the best British Gold Cup horse this year. He's not here, but he does tie in fairly closely with Brave Man's Game. So I think Brave Man's Game is perhaps the best of the British, but perhaps not the best of the bunch.
I can't get away from whatever Paul's comments about Brave Man's Game. Obviously, he took him out last year, and he's always said he's a flat track type of horse, and like you say, his form is so good, and just the undulations. I've always got in my head what Paul said. He didn't really want to run him last year at Cheltenham. He wanted to go straight to Aintree. He took him out, didn't he?
Yeah, always had him as
on the day. And I generally think the horse is. I think he's too good of a jumper and too good of a traveller to stay the Gold Cup trip myself.
Two great things for me in the Gold Cup on terrestrial television, Dave, are Hewick as a fairy tale, a horse that cost 800 quid and done what he's done round the world, and the fact we're going to have a decent-sized field. I imagine Sky Bet and others will have an unbelievable amount of places and offers and all sorts. So let's talk about some each-way horses. We haven't mentioned Protectorat. I think Noble Yates is interesting because when Emmett puts the cheek pieces on and turns the screw, could we see a much better horse?
He's the one I quite like. Him and Statler are the two that at the moment I'm sort of splitting stakes on. I think Noble Yates.
I'm doing exactly the same.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Sorry to say.
There we go. Oh, just chuck Delta work in and up 2 laughing.
No thanks.
I think you made the key point. I mean, you watch the Grand National back with Noble Yates with the cheek pieces on and how well he travelled there. Compare that to the Cotswold where Sean Bowen's giving him a reminder 3 out to keep up with him. He does respond to the reminder and he responds well to a clip after the last as well. You see him pick up, then it's all hands and heels from there up the hill. The extra distance is certainly going to help him. And similarly with Statler, I think I'm not saying he can beat Galopin this time. He'll certainly get a lot nearer with the extra 2 furlongs. I think that's very much in his favour.
If it rained hard through the week.
And if it rains hard through the week, he's around about 8-9 to 1 now. Statler, he'll go off half that price if the rain comes through the week.
But we are in danger of burying the lead here in the shape of A. Plutard, who won by 15 lengths, going further and further clear last year. And against here, the answer is definitely I don't know, because he's had one race since he bolted up in last year's Gold Cup. It was the worst performance of his career behind Protectorat in the Betfair Chase at Haydock. He missed the Savills Chase at Christmas because of a bang joint. He wasn't even entered for the Irish Gold Cup at the DRF. So where are we on A. Plutard? My opinion is that after that prep, we're more likely to see a B+ than an A+, and a B+ from him takes him fairly close, but perhaps not quite right to the top.
Okay, some quick fire questions to end this section. You can each have the winner of the Gold Cup and an each-way bet, and you can't have 2 each-way bets, you can only have 1. You're going to have to choose between your 2. So the winner will be, Dave?
Noble Yates.
Okay, and you can go each way on Statler then.
I'll go each way. That's what I was thinking. I'll go each way Statler. Thanks, Ed.
Who would you like to ride?
I'd like to ride Galopin.
Easy. Who would you like to have ridden at a bigger price? Who do you think might run well?
Well, I actually think the Statler will actually be thereabouts, because they're going to go, number one, they're going to go harder in the Gold Cup than what they did at Leopardstown. He's an out-and-out, proper out-and-out stayer. And coming up, and if we do get the rain, that's going to help him. I actually think at 9 to 1, I promise you, he's not far away. He won't be far away jumping the last. I think he's got a great chance, Statler.
I need you to do me a favour here and shout into Daryl's microphone your winner and your each-way fancy. Use Daryl's mic to pick up your voice.
Right, here we go, Daryl.
Should we hug?
Cuddle. Finish off with.
I am Galopin through and through. I think there's brilliance about that horse, so I can't wait to see him. And I think Brave Man's Game, the last furlong is a worry, but I think he's got that smooth jumping style that's going to take him into the mix.
You're also going to have to shout, and you can go first with it. I want your best fancy for day 4 on anything, county hurdle, whatever you want. And your best bet of the meeting, Graham Cunningham.
Okay, best fancy for day 4. This is a really difficult one. The Triumph Hurdle matchup is key. Townend's Choice of Ride will shape the market, but I think Lossiemouth, if she's bang on form and gets a clear run, she'll be mighty hard to beat. And what was the other thing you wanted?
The best bet of the entire week.
This is hard.
The Cunningham Nap.
This is hard because I've gone right through, and I haven't got a horse that I'm absolutely nailed to. But I always like to get off to a good start if possible. Race 2, day 1, Dysart Dynamo.
Perfect. Daryl, do you know yet what your best ride's going to be? Or is it TBC?
No, I don't.
Anything could happen.
Literally anything could happen. So I've no idea what my best rides are next week yet.
What should punters be most excited about from the whole week, do you think? What's the real big headline going to be? Is it going to be Constitution Hill, Galopin de Champs? Mullins. He might get to 100.
Well, I hope it's going to be all positive next week. But I mean, there's so
the best double green is El Fabiolo, though, isn't it, for you?
I think El Fabiolo and Impair and Pass and Blue Lord. We've got a great team of horses coming. So really looking forward to seeing all of them run. And I think it's just going to be a really, really exciting week, a cracking week. I can't wait, honestly.
We need it. We need it in the sport right now, which would be great. Right, Dave, best of day 4 is?
Embassy Gardens in the Albert Bartlett. I think we saw a different horse last time. I think I was a bit disappointed with him. First 2 runs looked a bit weak, but up to 3 mile last time, and he looked a proper galloper. I think he's the best bet on day 4.
You able to give us your pointer for the entire week?
I'm really hoping Banbridge wins. I like him an awful lot, and I've got him in a double. I'll double him up with Delta Workhead, thanks.
I wanted to finish on a high. Chaps, thank you so much. It's so exciting, isn't it? The place to follow the Cheltenham Festival, as always, all the content, tips from the boys, and so much more is Sporting Life.
Are you Cheltenham ready? Download the Sporting Life app for the best coverage of the festival, including live race blogs, stable tours, interviews, video previews, and expert tipping.